this is a story I did not know anything about. So Chiwetel, how did you find out about Rob's story? Because it encompasses so many things that are very important to talk about, but I don't think people know about it.
I guess probably about 10 years ago, the book came out, and I read the book then, and then and I was just stunned by it. You know, Jeff Hobbs's book about Rob. So this story about his friend and what happened to him. And I was moved, and I thought the story was powerful. I thought it hit on so many different areas that I felt were just underexplored, really, and definitely not explored in cinema in the way that I thought it could be. But I didn't really pursue it as a cinematic project at that time. You know, I sort of assumed that the rights had long gone and it was on the bestseller list and whatever. And then Antoine Fuqua and Rebecca Hobbs, Jeff's wife, contacted me because they were producing a film about it, and they contacted me. They'd seen a film that I'd made, and they asked me if I'd be interested in, you know, adapting and directing. I mean, this was several years later, and, you know, obviously I just jumped at the chance, the opportunity to do that. So it just sort of came back around, and I was, you know, thrilled to give it a go.
So Jay and Camila, when you guys get this script, what did you know about the story? It's you guys. What did you guys know about the story? And, you know, when you get something like this, did you run out and read Jeff's book? How much did you want to learn about Rob? Because I watched the movie and I just immediately, I bought Jeff's book.
Yeah. I mean, I read the book first. Yeah, I read the book first, and just the life just lifted off the page for me. It was just so, it was a relatable story. I mean, I feel like personally it was, in my own track, I had a lot of reflections with Rob and his situation. And so that was just a sign for me that I had to fulfill it. And I think it's just a story of truth. It's a relatable story. I mean, so I have a lot of family members who are Rob's friends, and I think it's one of those that have to be told.
Yeah, and I didn't know the story of Rob Peace before Chiwetel contacted me about the movie, and I read the script, and yeah, for me it was the same thing. Like, I felt like there were themes, as you said, that were underexplored, and I love like stories like that and stories that become movies that just make you feel greater, like just empathy and compassion for
honest stories, very honest, very genuine, very sincere. I think, like I said, Rob's story is reflected in so many
people.
lives.
Yeah,
and it ranged so far from it too. I think it's just a universal film.
Totally.
There's so many people who believed in Rob and wanted to help him, but there's also so many institutions, from, you know, Yale to the U.S. government when it comes to what happens with the mortgage crisis, that really let him down. And I'm curious what you're hoping the audience is going to walk out thinking and wanting to learn more about, and maybe hopefully enact some change.
I mean, there's so many, that's a great question. You know, there's so many different aspects of the film, and I think one of the first things is to highlight the sequence of issues, you know, because people tend to try to simplify this stuff a lot of the time. And Rob's story, you know, Rob is, you know, he was 3 years younger than me, so I definitely feel his presence a lot. You know, this very bright, intelligent guy. I imagine him in the room with us, you know, right now. And he's not here. And the reasons that he's not here are because of this very complex system that he was sort of born into, and where that sort of intersection meets with criminal justice, with education, with housing, you know, when all of these things sort of meet together, he finds himself sort of trapped, this very brilliant guy. So I think that understanding, you know, it's all about, I mean, the world that we live in now is all about attention. You know, what has your attention? What do we think about? Because when we have the attention, you know, then we can really enact changes. But I think too often, these kinds of issues have been dismissed or simplified. These ideas of social mobility, you know, are sort of dismissed. You know, the people that struggle to find how to move between these different areas of our society with kind of alacrity and peacefully, you know, it's sort of dismissed, and people talk about things like, oh, he couldn't get out of this, or he couldn't get out of that, or he couldn't, you know, and the reality is it's far more complex and nuanced. People's relationship to their community, to their friends, to their family, what their responsibilities are. just needs to be thought about, I think. And then things can, it starts with empathy. I
Yes.
think you mentioned that. It starts with empathy, and then things can change.
Because also I feel like people, like the world we live in can be so judgmental, and like success and failure can be looked at as like so just binary, and it's like what you said, there's like, it's so much more complex than that.
Jay and Camila, you're very lucky because you have a wonderful filmmaker in front of and behind the camera. What is the difference of having a director who's also an actor, who is also in the scenes with you? What changes? What alters your performance? What kind of, I feel like he probably brings a lot more empathy to the actor's experience.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just, Chiwetel just knew what to say at the right time.
For real.
And use the specific words to get you there.
Yes.
Without telling you what to do.
Yes.
And give you a space to be free and come up with your own interpretation of what the note was. And that is beyond honorable. And it gave us so much room to play. And I think being an actor really gives you the insight to see those things, step in it, being like, okay, I can step out of it and know what to do to make it better or to make it more truthful. There was a word you always used. It started with a D. It wasn't duality. It wasn't depth, but it was.
We'll find it as soon as the
find it.
interview's
We'll find
over.
it.
For sure.
Dichotomy? I don't know.
No, it was. You used the word, and it triggered me to just always go deeper with whatever it was. There's a depth that we have as an assumption as the actor, but you have an actor that's seeing you do it, seeing the process, wrote the whole script and all of it. So there's a depth that he has too. So it's like, okay, we can collaborate on this and get to, wow, it's way more there. And there was so many moments like that for me, and especially when I felt like, okay, this is good. Chiwetel came, all right, Jay, this is what I want you to do. I'm like, whoa! And we do it and we shoot it, and there's a whole nother layer that I just had to trust it. So there was trust, yeah.
I feel like for me, I felt like I was like in the best hands because I always knew that we would find it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No
Like I
matter
really
what,
trusted the process because I
Yes.
felt like you would like take me to the place that you needed to get me to.
Yes.
With that D word, whatever it was.
Whatever the D word is.
We'll get
I
there.
really
We'll
did
remember it.
Yeah.
Chiwetel, when you are acting and directing, how do you balance that?
Well, it's
Coffee?
interesting. Yeah, a lot of coffee. It's there's a lot of. I mean, it's there's something about it that's interesting as well about being in scenes. It was really exciting for me to be able to play in some of the scenes as well, especially obviously the scenes we had.
Just
really because the commitment from Jay and just the depth that we were sort of the things we were mining.
Yes.
And it helped that kind of dynamic. It helped the dynamic of being the director, of playing the father, of all of the sort of, all of those kind of sensory experiences. And I think there is something about, sometimes it's hard to communicate a scene. Sometimes, you feel like, there's something that you want to reach in a scene or you want to communicate. But actually, if you're in the scene, you can play that sense. You can kind of influence the scene from the inside. You can tonally change and shift a scene as an actor in a way that you don't need a sort of vocabulary. And so sometimes there was a language that we could have when we were playing scenes, even when we were rehearsing or talking about a scene. That then just sort of moves into the scene itself. So the acting and the directing kind of merge and become that sort of one thing. And I think that's powerful.
We found a rapport for sure. We found a true rapport. The language, like you said, and now they're coming back. I'm supposed to do, all of these specific things that, it's like, okay, this is, you went there, reel it back in. Where's the middle point? These are specific things that I don't feel like if it wasn't an actor that, this is an actor and director here that knows what, so those specific temperatures were really guided. We guided us there. I'm thankful for it.
I think my last question, I wondered if each of you had like a favorite memorable day on set, a favorite scene to do that when you look back on this experience, you're like, that's the one you really remember.
You guys go first. Well, I was going to say I wasn't there for these scenes, but some of my favorite scenes in the film were of you guys and like your rapport and your chemistry. Like it just felt so real.
Yeah.
You know, like when you guys were just like laughing and joking around, like you were, like it just felt like such real, like father and son chemistry and dynamic. I mean, I wasn't there for that, but those were like, I was just so like watching it. Yeah, it was really beautiful. But let me go back and think of what was one of my favorites.
It was. I think the whole experience of traveling here and traveling there. Just
Yes.
The experience of doing it, the things that weren't shot, the processes that had to be done to make it
real.
happen. That was what stuck out to me. Going to Brazil and doing our thing out there and being in places I've never been personally. I think what comes with it was really sweet. It stuck out to me. The jail scenes we did.
Yeah.
As an artist, that was really what stuck out to
Yeah.
me. This the intensity, the focus, and the precision of it all. Those scenes really got me.
Yeah, it's all of it for me.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's all of it. It's so hard to break it into pieces. You know, it was so all encompassing and so kind of full. It was such a rich experience and such a great group of people to work with, and especially these two. You know, just what they brought to the film. It was everything that I could have asked for as a director. You know, they just really like showed up to make it and to feel that rapport, to feel that chemistry, to engage in those dynamics, to tell Rob's story, to tell a complex story, and to try and find the truth of it. Yeah. So it was an amazing experience for me.
I feel like you could feel everybody in the cast and crew's huge empathy and love for the true story that we were trying to portray. Like I felt like everybody brought that, you know, heart into it every day. That sincerity.
You said that a lot. As genuine, stay sincere, truth, get right to it. And that's the best note I could have got. It's simple and it's just like
totally
right to the point.